Okay, so we'll get started. Presentation usually lasts about 20 or 30 minutes, and we will have plenty of time at the end for questions, but you are also welcome to ask questions throughout. Heather will be monitoring the chat and any hands raised, and so we want to make sure that we get all the information that you want to you. All right, so welcome to our presentation. This is being recorded. Just so that you will have access to the information afterwards. So let's talk a little bit about the program. This is a 36 credit hour or 12 class program. That's pretty standard for a master's degree. Our courses are fully online and they're also asynchronous. So what that means is your classes will start and end with the regular semester dates, but you won't have a meeting time during the week. So you don't have to be online on Tuesday nights from 6 to 9:30 p.m. We find that our students really need more flexibility in their schedule than that. And so our classes are structured that way. A lot of your professors will probably structure their classes on either a weekly or a bi-weekly schedule. They may say, okay, our new module starts on a Monday, and by Sunday night, I want you to have X, Y, and Z done. And then it's up to you in your week to partition out time so that you can fulfill those requirements. But it also means that you get to decide when you are working on your schoolwork. So for some people, that might be early in the morning. For some people, it might be scattered through the day. And for other people, it might be in the evenings. It's whatever works for you. Our online students also qualify for a lower tuition rate than standard in-state tuition. This is because the university doesn't make you pay some of the usually mandatory fees, things like health and recreation, when you're an online-only student. And we'll look a little bit more at those numbers in a few slides. So by the numbers, we've got about 250, 270 students in the program at any given time. Enrollment, of course, fluctuates across semesters. So we're not one of the biggest programs or one of the smallest. We're kind of right in the middle. We are, however, one of the oldest programs. We started teaching library science classes here at UK in 1918, so over 100 years at this point. And we've had continuing accreditation from the American Library Association since the 1940s. We've got 30 years plus of experience in distance education. We started with satellite campuses and then moved to broadcasting, and now, of course, fully online following the pandemic. More people are more used to this form of instruction, but this isn't new to us. This is something we've been doing for quite a while now. We do have 12 full-time faculty, and we also have a lovely contingent of part-time instructors who are out working in the field. So field experts that come in and then share that expertise with our students in the classes that they teach. If you're interested in rankings, the current U.S. News and World Report rankings put us 17th overall for all of the library science programs. If you're interested in health information, we are 3rd, and then school library media 11th, and services for children and youth 12th. That's actually where we got our start, was in school library, librarianship for children. So it's something that we're very proud of, that has continued across the years. So let's talk a little about academics. I mentioned some of our concentrations, school libraries, youth services and literature, and health information, but we also have several others, things that you would expect: academic libraries, public libraries. There's also information technology and systems for our students that are interested in all of the tech and systems that support this field. And then you also have the option of generalist. If you have a wide range of interests or would like to explore multiple areas, you can always come in as a generalist. The important thing to remember is that these concentrations are not formal degree designations. They don't appear on your transcript or your diploma. They're really a way for you to tell us about your interests so that we can recommend classes. And you are welcome to mix and match across concentrations if you have interests in multiple areas. It's very common for students that are interested in public libraries to combine that with classes recommended for youth services and literature. The one concentration that is a little bit different is our school library concentration, because those students are already certified as teachers. So they're coming to us with a valid teaching certificate, and they're completing a specialized program within the degree so that they can add school library media certification to their current teaching certificate. So they have a little bit less choice, but they are earning 2 credentials at the end of their program, both the MSLS degree, which all of our students earn, and then that school library certification on top. And I see we've got some questions in some chat, so I want to pause. Okay. And resuming, pardon the interruption. Hopefully we can get that sorted out. If you are coming into the program as a standard MSLS student, so you're not school library media, remember how I said the program itself is 12 classes. This is how that typically breaks down. So we have our 4 core courses, LIS 600 through 603. These are meant to give you a really firm foundation in the field and its major principles and tenets so that when you go on to take elective classes, you're prepared for that content. So 600 is an introduction to the profession, who we are, what we do, why we do it, why it matters. 601 is more about information seeking. So how do we parse a person's information needs? Somebody comes to me and says, I need information on X. How do we help them find the information that meets that need, information that's suited to them? 602 is kind of the flip side of 601. It's about how we organize information. So how do we create information systems that we can then search effectively and efficiently? And then 603 is a foundational management class. So that gives you a good understanding of leadership, teamwork, how to work as a group, how to make sure that your institution is moving forward in the way that you as a group decide that you want it to. So once you complete the 4 core classes, you also need to take at least 1 technology class. We recommend that you take as many as you're interested in, but you are required to take at least 1. And we have several things for you to take as options. We have 636, which is kind of a foundations class, or 668, which is more advanced and is about databases. So whichever topic is of interest to you, that's the technology class that you should take. Some of them do have prerequisites, so you will want to watch out for that. And if you need a waiver, that's something that Heather and I can help you with in discussion with the instructor for that course. Heather is also great about when she builds our schedules. If we have any special topics classes, which are 690s, if they are an IT class, Heather will designate that. So you never have to wonder if it's going to count as an IT class or not. Once you do your core and your technology class, the last 7 classes are electives. They are up to you. They are your choice, so that you can customize this degree to be what you want it to be. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the electives in a second, but you also have options as part of your electives to do 672, which is our practicum course. So you can get course credit for doing an internship. There are stipulations, there are hour requirements, supervisor requirements, but it is possible to get course credit for doing an internship, and we love when our students get paid. So please, if you can, find a paid internship because those are our favorite. We also have 695, which is our independent study course. That way you can design a course yourself. So perhaps there was something in a class that we talked about briefly for maybe a week or so, and you think, gosh, that's really interesting. I'd like to do a much deeper dive on that. But we don't have another elective on that topic. Under the supervision of one of our full-time faculty, you can design your own independent study course and look farther into that topic like you want to. Typically, those result in a multimedia presentation and some kind of reflection, but that's up to you and your faculty advisor to talk about and put into the contract for that class. I'm just checking the class. Heather, thank you so much for keeping up with the chat. It makes it so much easier. Okay, so some sample electives. This is not an exhaustive list by any means, but it'll give you a sense of the range of things that we have. We have things like 612, Youth Literature for a Diverse Society. We also have an Archives and Manuscripts Management class, that's 643. Things that you would expect, a class on public libraries, a class on academic libraries, and maybe some things you wouldn't expect, like 665, which is all about digital libraries. As we mentioned, we have a special topics class, and that can have multiple sections a semester, but all of the different sections have a different topic. So we've had things like intellectual freedom in the past. We have an advanced multimodal communication class. So there's lots of options for customizing your program. And we definitely encourage you, look at those special topic 690 classes every semester, because there's often new things coming up that you might not even know that you wanted to take till you see the course description. Now, I did mention that our school librarian students don't have quite as much choice when they are planning their classes, and that's because they have to meet those certification requirements. But this is what their course plan looks like. So if you're interested in being a school librarian, this is the requirements you'll need to meet. It's still 12 hours. You still take the same 4 core classes that all the students in the program take. But you also have some school library specialization courses. So there's 644 administration, 647 current trends, and 676, the required school medium practicum. For our school library students, the practicum is required. Notice it's a different number than the other practicum, and it can be split across semesters. So you can do 1 credit hour across 3 semesters to fulfill this requirement. You don't have to do all of it at once. You'll also see 655 listed. You do need to take 1 additional class, but you have options to fulfill that requirement. So if something like organization of knowledge is offered, you could take that. But we also have other options that you can take as well. So that's a place that you can customize. Outside of those 8 classes, you've got 2 literature classes left and 2 technology classes. For the literature courses, you can pick between the 3 that we have listed there, and we also have a new one that's for young children. And then for the technology classes, you have 1 648 that is specific to school libraries, and then you can choose one of the other technology classes, either in library science or our EDL educational leadership program also has some options that might be appropriate, and you'll work with Dr. Cahill, the advisor for these students, to choose the best option for you. So it's still 12 classes. There is still some wiggle room so that you can decide what you want for a couple of the courses, but it is a little more restricted so that we can make sure that you meet those requirements for certification. So let's talk about something super fun, which is alternative spring break. And one of the things that really makes this program stand out from other programs you might be considering. So the alternative spring break started in 2011. This is something that we have managed to host every year since, including all the pandemic years. But we have transitioned some of the projects to being online as a result, which does help some of our students participate that normally couldn't. We do, however, also have experiences where students are going to our partner institutions who are currently Library of Congress, National Library of Medicine, and the network of the National Library of Medicine Region 1. So our Library of Congress intern this year is going to the Library of Congress. She's working with the music division. And so that program typically happens during our spring break, which is usually the 2nd or 3rd week of March. It is competitive. So there is an application process that usually opens in mid-fall semester. And typically we have announced the participants by the end of fall semester or the beginning of the spring semester. The school also usually provides a scholarship. It has been $1,000 in recent years to help offset the cost of participating. But this is an excellent way not only to put into practice what you're learning in class, but to really begin networking, not only with your classmates who will be participating with you, but also with the professionals that you'll be interacting with during the week. It's such a great way to start reaching out into the profession, getting to know people, getting to know what different kinds of jobs are like. It's something Heather and I did together when we were in the program, and we really loved it. We were also Library of Congress interns. So it is such a valuable experience if it's something that you want to participate in and can participate in. And it looks like, excellent. Okay, we've got the technical issue sorted out. Heather, thank you so much for helping with that. Come on, presentation. Okay, tuition and financial aid. I know somebody had a question about this. So for the current 2023-2024 academic year, these are the tuition rates. So as we mentioned, there is a rate specific to online only graduate students. You'll see that as the 3rd one down. So for full-time, that is 3 classes or more in a fall or spring semester. That rate is $6,619 per semester. If you're going part-time, and that is all summer classes, and if you're taking fewer than 9 hours in a fall or spring semester, That rate is $737 per credit hour, which roughly equates to about $2,200 per class. So just kind of keep those numbers in the back of your mind. As you all know, because you've done undergraduate degrees, tuition changes every year. So we will get the new numbers for the 24-25 academic year sometime over the summer. And they are always at that link below the table. Our student account services website always has the link to the current tuition numbers. So if you want the new numbers, check around the middle of July and they should be there. Pardon me. For application deadlines, we did finalize spring admission because spring semester started yesterday. But if you're looking ahead for summer 2024, that deadline is March 15th. For fall 24, that will be July 1st. And if you're looking way ahead to spring of 25, that is November 15th. And we keep those deadlines consistent year to year. So maybe you want to start this fall, but something happens and you're thinking, well, actually maybe fall 25 is better for me. It will still be July 1. It'll just be July 1 of next year. We try to keep that consistent just to make everything easier. Checking the chat again. Yes, it is a really amazing opportunity, ASB. I am the person that's in charge of facilitating it now, and I love it. And I will make sure it keeps going as long as I can. Yes, I am. All right, so it's always nice when somebody other than you pays for your education, right? And we fully support that for our students. So there are some internal opportunities I'll talk about as well as some external ones. So for internal, the institution UK has fellowships available for graduate students. The requirements and the admissions or the deadlines for those are different for various fellowships. So we don't have one date for you, but they are available on the graduate school's website. You can look and see what the requirements are, when the deadlines are. It is the most competitive source of funding because there's a lot of graduate students at UK and there's a very limited number of fellowships. However, we absolutely have students who are awarded these fellowships. So if you meet the requirements, it's worth the effort to apply. We also usually have a limited number of assistantships. We confirm the number of placements we'll have for an academic year sometime in the spring semester. So those applications are due March the 1st. Assistantships do require that you can come to campus and work here in an on-campus library. So you don't necessarily have to live in Lexington, but you have to live close enough that you can come to campus to work in the library. They typically run August to August. They come with a full tuition waiver for the fall and spring semester. So it'll cover all your tuition for fall and spring for full-time course load. You'll receive a stipend, and then you'll also be put on the graduate student health insurance. So they're a great opportunity to have your classes paid for while you gain practical experience by working in one of the libraries. Now, if that doesn't work for you, and it doesn't work for a lot of students because you're already working either at a library or somebody else, or you can't physically be here in Lexington, everyone can apply for the school scholarships. Everyone is encouraged to. We would love to see those applications. You need to have that in by June 15th. It doesn't matter if you're full-time or part-time here in Kentucky, somewhere else. We are happy to see those applications come in. The scholarships are modest. They're usually anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500. But they can help offset the cost of a class. We do award our scholarships for the fall semester only, as the scholarship money in the spring goes to support alternative spring break, which I just talked about. Now, where you have options for larger scholarships and multi-semester scholarships are in some of our external places. So the American Library Association, as you would expect, is a huge supporter of students in this field. I think they give away several $100,000 in scholarships every year. Some of those are very specific. Some of them are targeted towards typical or particular types of librarianship, particular students, and then some of them are very general, open to everybody. So it's very much worth your time to take a look at those and apply for all of the ones that you qualify for. They usually open the application portal sometime in September, and it does close on March the 1st. So if this is something that you're interested in doing, you definitely want to have your program application in the next few weeks so that you can have an admissions decision and then have time to get that scholarship application in. We also have our Honor Society, which is Beta Phi Mu, and they will often have scholarships available. Sometimes they're just for students in PhD programs, or they might be limited to people that are already working in libraries and want to do some continuing education, but it's definitely worth looking there as well. Usually they have a March 15th deadline. The next link, I Need a Library Job, is just a good kind of general resource. It's a lot of early career professionals who are coming together, sharing all the information that they know to benefit all of our up and coming professionals. Often they will share information about scholarships, so it's just a good place to look. And then the last thing I would recommend is your state library association. So most of the state library associations write their scholarship in such a way that you either A, need to be a resident of that state enrolled in any ALA accredited program, or be a student from out of state who is enrolled in an ALA accredited program in that state. So even if you are, say, in Ohio, as long as you're enrolled in our ALA accredited program, Kentucky Library Association will allow you to apply for our scholarships because you're in our program and we're in Kentucky. But you probably also qualify to apply for Ohio Library Association scholarships. So it's definitely worth looking. And then there's also our regional association. So SELA, Southeastern Library Association, also often have scholarships. So cast your net wide, apply for all of the things that you qualify for, because you're not any worse off at the end than when you started. And you might find yourself the recipient of quite a number of scholarships. So we always want to see our students apply for that money because it's so great when you have that support. Heather, thank you very much for that information in the chat. Adele will get into the application requirements, which is something people are always curious to know. So what we are looking for is a undergraduate GPA of a 3.0 or higher. If you have done previous graduate work, we'd also like for that to be a 3.0 or higher as well. We do not have a discipline requirement in terms of what your major was. Any major is welcome in this program. It's actually helpful if you come from a different major, because then you have subject specialty knowledge. The important thing is that you come from a regionally accredited institution. And if you're not sure if your institution is regionally accredited, please don't hesitate to reach out for me. I am happy to look that information up for you so that you know that. We're also looking for 3 letters of recommendation that can be any combination of academic and professional. It is very common for students to come to this program after spending years in another industry. So if you don't have recent academic recommendations that you can ask, that is okay. We will happily take 3 professional letters of recommendation. Your supervisor, your boss, coworkers who work with you very well, anybody that can speak to your work ethic, your ability to succeed in a graduate program. There's also a personal statement. It's not very long, about 200 to 300 words, where you explain 2 things to us. 1, why do you want to go into this profession? What is it about being a librarian, being an information professional that excites you? What do you want to do as part of your career? What are your goals? And the second part, why is our program a good fit for the kind of information professional you want to be? Why us? How can we help you achieve those goals? The last piece is a CV or resume. We don't have a preference in terms of format. We just want to see what kinds of academic and professional experiences you've already had that you'd be bringing to the program with you. There is no requirement for GRE or GMAT scores. We got rid of that in 2018, well before the pandemic. If you have them, you're welcome to submit them, but it is not a requirement. You do not need to take that test. Yes, and as Heather said, for the letters of recommendation, our application portal actually facilitates that process. So you will enter their email address and the portal itself will send them the link to the recommendation form that they'll actually submit. So you don't have to collect the letters. There's no place for you specifically to submit them. The portal will take care of that. It's a great point, Heather. Now, how do you actually get to the application? There are a number of ways to do this, some of them involving a lot more clicking than I want you to have to do. So the easiest way is to start at gradschool.uky.edu, and the homepage will look very similar to this. You'll see in that second column is prospective students, and the first option under that is apply. Now that will take you to the page that has a link right to the application portal. It is one of the more straightforward ways to get to it. But if you do have issues accessing Slate or getting to what information you need, it's another case where please just email me and I am happy to assist. I know it can be really difficult to navigate, especially university websites, because there's just a lot of pages and a lot of information. So if you can't find what you're looking for, you just let me know and I'll be happy to help. And that covers the content for the presentation, but as we said, we've got plenty of time for Q&A. If at any point you need to contact me, my email address is ashdewitt@uky.edu. You can also get to Heather, or me, because Heather will let me know, at the sis@uky.edu email address. And you're not bothering us. If you have questions, we are here to answer them. We are happy to help. Nothing is too big or too small. Just don't hesitate. Ask whatever questions that you have, which is a great segue to say, do you have any questions? And yes, Heather, she posted in the chat, is the fee still $65? Yes, for domestic applicants, the application fee is currently $65. Any international applicants, it's $75. We'll stick around just to see if there's any questions, but if you don't have any questions, thank you so much for joining us. Again, please feel free to reach out at any point. We are always happy to help, and we're so grateful that you spent part of our morning with us. So have a great rest of your day.
So Melissa has a question about opportunities for non-online interaction. Or class interaction, I should say. So maybe synchronous Zoom or other opportunities to interact with her peers.
Yeah. So Melissa, some classes will have optional events that are synchronous that you can attend. But because this is an online program, the instructor will always make sure that there is a way to participate asynchronously. So yes, there are opportunities for class interaction. You'll probably be interacting with your peers for discussion. We use Canvas, which is our learning management system, but it is really great at facilitating communication. And so you have the option to use that to respond to your peers and establish relationships that way too. So if you want to talk to them in class, that's great. But if you also want that more personal out of class connection, Canvas can facilitate that. We're also working with UK Libraries to develop several events for the coming semester, coming years. And so that's also a great way to get interactions, not only with your peers, but also with faculty and our UK librarians. Does that help? Yes, you absolutely get a lot from others when you go through classes. And I will say from my experience going through this program, what you put into it is what you get out of it. So if you want that interaction, you need to be interactive, right? And that way you'll help develop those relationships. And then Gary said he had a question about assistantships. What kinds of roles, how many weeks, how much is the stipend? So Gary, I'm happy to answer that based off of the information for this year, because I don't have the information for next year yet. So what I can tell you as this year we have 4 assistants, 4 graduate assistants. They are spread across UK Libraries. So UK Libraries actually determines where the graduate assistants are any given year. So right now we have 2 students in our Special Collections Research Center. One of them is working, I believe, with the education archivist. And I think the other one is doing something in preservation. We typically have at least 1 student placed with our reference and instructional services folks. And then the other position, it really ranges. So we've had people in government documents. We've had people working in interlibrary loan. We've had people working in serials. So it really, it's different year to year. In terms of how many hours, it's 20 hours a week. And right now the pay is $15 an hour, and that's paid bi-weekly. Does that help at all? Okay, great, great. These are all great questions. Does anybody else have anything else they want to know?
Aaron asked a question about accessing information about classes. We just had a brand new website boot, and so some of the information that we had available online previously is not there anymore, or it may be found in a different place. So if you are looking for particular information on classes, class descriptions, maybe you would like to talk to a faculty member who teaches a certain subject, please let me know, especially if you have a particular interest. I am absolutely happy to share that information with you, past syllabuses, and any kind of question about the schedule, registration, and how that works. And like Ashley said, you can reach me at that sis@uky.edu address.
That was a great question. Financial aid gets a little tricky, Melissa. So we don't work with financial aid information at the program level. No one at the program level has access to any of your financial records or what aid you might or might not qualify for. So what I would say is the best course of action if you're planning to start in the summer is to reach out to our financial aid office and speak with a representative there, because they're going to have the best information about what aid you can or cannot access and when you will have access to it. The thing to remember, especially about graduate aid, is that it's often based off of credit hour. So you usually have to meet a certain threshold. I think it's 5 hours is what I remember it being, but you'll want to check with the financial aid office. So 5 hours in a given semester to get access to aid. I know that there are ways, or have historically been ways, to access aid in summer, but it can be convoluted. And it does work a little bit differently for graduate students than it does for undergraduate students. So again, it's really important to reach out to our experts on campus, and that is our financial aid office. And they have options for online appointments. There's a phone number. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get in touch with them to start getting those questions answered specific to your circumstances. Does that help? Excellent. Great, great. You guys have such great questions. Oh, great. I'm so glad to hear that. So like I mentioned, I'm the admissions coordinator. I am the person who is the first stop for processing your application. So any questions that you have, I am happy to help. Heather is awesome. And we work together really, really closely. So either one of us can help you with whatever you want to know about the application process or the program itself. We are here for you. Okay, Gary, so when does assistantships and scholarships get announced? Assistantships depend on a couple of things, but usually before the end of spring semester. So that deadline is March the 1st. We try very hard to have decisions back to students by April 15th. Sometimes it is closer to May or even the beginning of May. And it just depends on how quickly we can get paperwork processed and interviews scheduled. Scholarships are due June 15th, and we usually announce those in mid-July, again, before the fall semester, so that you know that information before fall semester begins. Does that help? You're very, very welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. You too, Gary. Have a great day. And again, we're here to answer questions, but if you feel like you've got the information you needed, you are welcome to leave the session. And if you think of a question in 15 minutes and are like, oh gosh, I should have asked that, again, just send us an email. We are here and happy to help at any time.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll hear from you soon.
Erin, did you have any final questions? I definitely like to consider them sibling fields. They do complement each other really well. And we do have students who pursue something called a concurrent degree, where they actually complete both degrees, but share 9 hours. So it's a little bit faster than doing them separately. I would say library science is definitely more focused on libraries themselves as information institutions. We are an LIS focused program, a library focused program. And so a lot of the content is very focused on how does this apply to libraries? How do we do this well in libraries? And it is also very focused on how we serve our public, how we serve our patrons. ICT is definitely more towards the tech side. As you would expect, given the name and the focus of the field. And so in those cases, a lot of our students are currently working in IT professional positions. So they're already well intertwined in that field. And so they're interested more in matters of security and information management and making sure that systems are working the way that they should within the parameters and the policies that they're supposed to work in. And that spans across a lot more than libraries, like library science. So those students often work in healthcare, or they might work in industry, or they might work in government, where our library science students can still do those things, but many of our students end up in libraries. Erin, I'm happy to talk with you about more information on the concurrent programs if you'll send me an email. Sometimes that information is easier when you have it written in front of you. But the long and short of it is that you end up applying to both programs, but you'll do one semester and then one in a subsequent semester. And then you will work with our Director of Graduate Studies and also our school's director, Dr. Young-Ok Choi, to develop a course plan so that we already know as you come in which classes are being shared. And then it's up to you to complete the courses, do the graduation requirements, and finish both programs. But I'm here to help with all the paperwork. And you'll have myself and Sarah Jane Tammy, who you met earlier, will help you make, and Heather, of course. Heather is involved in everything to make sure that you're proceeding smoothly through the concurrent degree plan. Yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely start an LIS. The only requirement is that one semester you have to be enrolled in both programs. So you can have several semesters to think about if you want to do that or not. And it's also possible for you to take some ICT classes and have those count towards your library science degree. Some of the classes are cross-listed, so you'll be in the LIS section anyway, but there are some classes that are specific to ICT. And you can take 2 of those as what we call a cognate class. So if you want to do a little exploring first and see if you like the direction ICT is going, we can help you with that too. Heather. Heather has all the syllabuses.
Yeah. And it's not pestering. That's what I do. I'm the keeper of the syllabuses. I will say we are working right now with UK libraries to establish a new online repository for our syllabuses. That's just a little bit involved right now, and we're making sure that we have copyright clearance and things like that. We used to have them all online, but hopefully that will be moving on in the future to this repository, and that'll include ICT and LIS. But if you're interested in seeing some LIS and ICT syllabuses, or even speaking with some of the professors, definitely shoot me an email. I am super happy to share that information with you, and some the most recent syllabus copies I have too as well.
And yes, Heather is all things. Heather knows all the things. But really, Erin, you can start with either one of us and we'll make sure we get you to the person or the information that you need. We're very happy to help. Do you have any other questions? Yeah, you've got our email, so you just feel free to email us with anything that you need.